Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Leanne here. You're running a creator management company. I've been at the forefront of the creator revolution, which has been pretty new. And you've been, really early on in wanting to form a management company around this, and you're managing some great creators today. So I'm just excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited too.
Awesome. So, Leanne, where did your interest in, being more entrepreneurial and wanting to be in the talent space begin? Like, how did this start?
I feel like it actually started in middle school. I've always been entrepreneurial. I started a company in middle school and I actually had friends who helped me run it. And that's when my interest for music really started. And I had this desire in me to just like do things and see more. And then in high school, I really got into the Tumblr scene. And that was like my early entry into what a creator was and helped foster this desire that I had in me even more. And when it was time to choose my first internship, I got a job at Interscope Records in their global brand partnership division. And that really just like blended all my worlds together. And that's also the same year I signed my first client. And it really just snowballed from there.
hmm So when did you realize like you were able to kind of move more on your own and build something in this creator space? Like, how did that happen?
So it's such a beautiful story. Like in like looking back now, I I was doing independent management for a long time and it got to the point where I really needed to find a company that was going to foster my foundation and understanding of all the basics in the industry. So I got really lucky. I found a great job at a company that was servicing celebrities in the endorsement realm. So this was like pre-Instagram, pre-Vine, and they were doing celebrity endorsements. So it was like exactly what I needed to learn in order to see the vision of what the creator economy could become. So while I was at that company, I slowly started to sign Vine stars and bloggers, and I used the knowledge that they taught me and how to negotiate the celebrity deals, and I brought it into the creator world. And I saw the key players in their world who are all now the key players in my world. And it was like this beautiful blend of taking and leveraging information in the right ways. And I, my first deal I think was for $1,000, and it was with a company who's one of the largest companies now in the creator space and the brand side. And it was just like this catalyst to everything that was to come. And slowly but surely, I was building my own roster. And I just, some of my clients were getting some traction. And I simply did the math one day on how much I made the company I was working for versus how much they paid me. And I was like, all right, I can do this on my own. Like, I'm out. And, it was I was so grateful for that experience, but it showed me that I can do it on my own. And then pioneer it in a way that only I had the vision for.
How did you convince like influencers or creators to want to join in with you when you were doing your own thing and maybe didn't have the experience that other managers had?
So it was really early in the creator space. It was 2016 when I made the decision to, it was December 2016 when I made the decision to start my own company. So it was still early enough, I think, that creators really, it was so new for them too, right? So coming off of doing these big celebrity deals, I had like the cachet or the knowledge and the passion, quite honestly, and the vision for what was to come that I think they just like, they trusted me. And it was a bet on both sides, right? In the beginning.
Mhm.
And it worked out well.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
so so what was kind of like your first steps in in terms of like signing up creators? Like, who did you sign up initially, and how did you use that to get others signed up?
So, in the beginning of my career, I was really passionate about the music industry and the creator economy. So I was kind of playing in both worlds at the beginning in year one of my business. And I would it helped me get clients in both realms. I had really big musicians, so it helped like the creators really be like, oh, she's already doing it for them, she can absolutely do it for me. And then like the network that you created helps everyone, right? Like the brands from the celebrity side help the creators and vice versa. So uh honestly, I think because I have such a desire to be a manager early on, a lot of the right things just came my way. And then it's about the individual me seizing those opportunities with like a genuine intention and then building things from there. Like I remember I met my client Tiana Taylor, who's been my client now for almost 10 years. I met
Wow.
her label manager on the street on Fairfax and like had no idea who he was, and like, you know, was just very energetic, and he could tell my passion for the space. And he's like, I have someone I want to introduce you to. And I think it's just like things come naturally. And like I've never really like seeked a client. Now I'm
Mhm.
tastefully like, you know, choosing who I want, which is fun, but it all just happens, I think.
Mhm. And was your goal like, like when you left what you were doing previously, like I'm going to build a management company, I'm going to sign a bunch of different clients. Like, was that what you were kind of thinking? Like, I'm going to scale this?
So I think initially the company, my company name was originally Music Brand Agency, so it was very focused on representing musicians and helping them find partnerships. Within year one, I really understood that that was not what I wanted to do. That was not what was bringing me joy or excitement. It was like, to be quite honest with you, it was like me securing all of these deals for these big musicians, like the biggest ones in the industry, and them just turning them down simply because they didn't like the video game. And I was like, okay, it doesn't matter if I can secure the deal. If I can't close the deal, it doesn't help. So I was
Mm.
just like, I want to be the manager, because at that point I was kind of like the agent or brand manager, bringing in deals to the manager and the talent. And I was like, I want to be the one creating the future with my clients. So I was like, I want to be a manager. And that's when I was just like, I need to double down on the creator economy. And I was very sure, I was like, I'm going to build this digital talent management company. And that's when I changed the name and built the digital roster.
hmm So, what would you say goes into like a successful, influencer brand deal? Is it they have to be both be passionate? I mean, of course they've got to put the work in, but what are some keys of success in an influencer brand deal?
That's a great question. And I think it's really, there's a lot of layers to it. I think it comes down to, so here's the thing, there's so many different types of deals. If you're talking about like a one-off campaign where a client's promoting X brand, X movie, you know, that's like very straightforward. But if you're talking about a true like collaboration where it's like the brand is selecting this client and we're doing something a little bigger together, that's where I feel like this question gets a little more interesting.
Mm.
um that's when you really need to make sure both players understand each other's creative styles, the intention, the goals, and like we're preparing both sides for success. I sit in the middle where I'm managing my clients' expectations and the brand's expectations. And our intention is always to get the deal done, but we also have to protect our client, and we have to build relationships on the brand side that they want to keep coming back to us, right? So it's like this,
Mhm.
it's a balancing act, and there's an art to it. I always want to, I think a good manager in this equation truly understands their client's strengths and weaknesses and what they need in order to achieve success. And
Mhm.
I think it's like about being really specific with the campaigns that we're presented with, to be like, okay, this client is a viral comedy creator. He has a specific formula that in order to achieve success we need to follow. So if he's posting a branded asset that the brand, sorry, I'm getting a little nuanced, but
Mhm.
it gets very specific. So if the brand is creating the asset, like you have to make sure everything is aligned. I don't want to like go too crazy with this question, but every piece and step of the way of the deal needs to make sense for the creator, and then you have to communicate how that creator needs, what they need to have a successful campaign. And then it's also really important to understand the brand's goals and objectives and how they define success. And I think that's a question a lot of people miss. But if someone's goal is for awareness versus conversion, that's very different. You're gonna suggest different creators. So I think it's about like really, while this is a volume game, you do have to be really detail oriented.
And do you like try to make sure that the goals of the brand are super aligned before you even do anything?
Yeah. I mean, we won't do a deal if the brand simply
Mhm.
just doesn't align with the client. And I don't think anyone wants to see that nowadays. I think consumers on social media are so smart and savvy. Like, one thing that's off, they're going to, you know, make sure
Mhm.
that they know that it's off. So I think,
Right.
from the initial jump, the brand has to make sense for the client. So that like is step number one. And step number two is always like trying the product themselves, making sure that, you know, that they actually love it and use it.
hmm So, Leanne, like just even taking a step back, like why would you say it's important that a creator has a manager? Like, for example, I know somebody who's a very successful basketball player, became an all-star throughout his whole career, never had a manager, and did all the deals himself. Like, where would you say that management adds value?
So usually like you need a team in order to be successful at anything. I really believe teamwork is so important. Sorry, my dog is barking. And a manager is there to handle the details, to help navigate the future, and to create the roadmap. So when you're busy doing what you do best, the manager is in the field having aligned goals with you, and they can accurately communicate that. So they're always presenting things that make sense for you. I'm so connected and understand all my clients that when I'm negotiating or talking about them, I know exactly how they're going to feel, what they're going to say. I can anticipate their questions. And it's a real team, it's teamwork, and it's a true partnership. And I think you can't do it on your own. Like, if you're negotiating a deal, you're taking yourself away from your art and your craft. I think having a manager helps in so many different ways. And I think the talent should always just be perfecting themselves and letting the manager do the other things that help them keep
hmm
creating.
hmm
I mean, then you get
Yeah.
into the worlds of negotiating, redlining, invoicing, details, coordination, schedule. It's like you really need a team for all of it.
hmm How have you seen like the kind of earnings that creators can have changed from when you got involved to now? Like where, like how much has it really shifted? Have they been able to get brand deals that maybe other people of major influence in different categories would have gotten before? Like where do you see it going as well?
I mean, there's tremendous change, right? I think the industry is just like growing at such a tremendous pace that there's opportunity for everyone. And there's so much more opportunity now than before. And I think now it's about going back to your other question, why it's important to have a manager is because I'm in the field all day long talking to brands and agencies along with my entire team and company. So having that team is like, you're not just getting the incoming stuff to you, you're getting put in front of everyone all the time. And I think as the industry expands, there's just more and more opportunity, but it takes the manager to really educate the brands and the agencies on who you are and why they should choose you. Because right now listen, there's a lot of creators out there. So it's up to the managers and agents to really advocate for their clients on why they would be a good fit for this opportunity. And I think if no one's putting your name out there, then you're missing so much. And there's just so many more ways you can monetize now, and so many people are getting involved in the evolution of the creator economy, and our passion is about being at the forefront of the industry, predicting trends, trying new things, and setting the blueprint for future creators to follow.
I mean, you've seen the creator economy like develop from really not much to now it's a big deal. Like, where do you think it's going to grow most? Like, what are some areas it can improve in? Where do you see the creator economy going?
I mean, it's such a loaded question. I think it's definitely going to have a lot of evolution in the coming years. I believe that brands are going to rely on creators more and more to help drive creative overall strategy for social media and figuring out how to connect with their consumer more. I think what creators do well is that they hold people's attention, the good
Hmm.
creators, and that's what every brand needs. They need someone who can help grab attention, exchange, tell a story, and create an impact. And I think creators who are genuinely passionate and have, you know, this ability with their communities, brands are going to want to tap into that in a deeper way. And I think we're already starting to see this in my company, where certain brands are asking our creators to help advise on the creator briefs so that they go more viral, they translate better on social media, and that their campaign sticks out. So I think that's one way. I think we're gonna see what I've seen with my clients who have been in the space for 5+ years, 10 years, some of them, is that we're really honing in on what their talents are and where they want to spend their time. I think once you get into this process of like creating and running a machine of content, you slowly start to have more time to focus on other areas, and now it's just deciding on what those areas are. So I think for Made by All, where we're heading is like world tours for some of our clients in the creator space, and creating book deals, and so film and TV shows, and really just like focusing in on what the creator wants to do, as opposed to just being like, this is what the industry's doing, let's start a skincare line. Like, it's not about what the trends are. I think it's really figuring out what your client is going to be passionate about, because at the end of the day, anything you start, like, it's going to end and die on your enthusiasm and your excitement to keep it going. So I think leaning into where people's passion is and then helping them build businesses around that is where we're going to see it going. And then just the monetization opportunities available, I can talk about that for a long time, but understanding each platform's monetization opportunities is another thing that a management team does if they're good, and they can help you be better at. And there's just a lot of ways that I think even the music industry in the coming years are going to tap creators in a much better way than they are.
A lot of people talk about like making a household name, and certain individuals, they can kind of do it on their own through, their own content, things like that. Like, would you say there's a recipe for making somebody into a household name, or something that you can do as a manager to do that?
I think there's ingredients. I think all of our clients who have established themselves as the top 1% in the creator economy, they put this is their entire lives, and they say yes to things more than they say no. And
Hmm.
they're really collaborative, creative, and are willing to do the things that other people don't want to do to make it to the top. We have creators who are flying around the world just to get a pickup shot for a 30-second video. I kid you not. Like, the level of integrity really matters. And I think how much the creator wants it, and how, like, do they want it for the right reasons too. But yeah, I think having a strong team that also is connected to the right people can help you get into doors that you couldn't open otherwise. So I think it is a combination of desire, what's your consciousness around success and fame, and becoming a household name takes a lot of work, but we've seen it happen time and time again, and we have a lot of clients that are household names, and that's definitely our mission here.
Hmm. But what do you enjoy most about being a manager? Is it the experiences you get with creators? Is it the negotiation process? Like, what do you like most about this?
That's such a good question. I love so much of it. I think my favorite thing is using my intuition to foresee someone's career. Like, when I'm meeting with a client and we're brainstorming, and I can see in my head the direction we want to go, and then bringing it to life and seeing it happen is one of the most gratifying feelings, that you are helping co-create something that's impacting millions of people. And everyone's on social media, and some of our clients have 50, 60 80 million followers. So for us to be able to strategize in the background and then make things happen, I think that's the most exciting part for me.
The age like of social media, there's certain people today that are saying it's unhealthy for individuals. It's, too much for the youth. It exposes them to different things. Like, how do you view the balance that, people should have with their favorite content creators and how the way they consume their content?
I think there has to be a balance in anything and everything in life, and I think that self-restriction is hard for social media apps to enforce. I think we're seeing them try by putting
Mhm.
up a notification that you've been on this app for more than an hour or whatever it is that you choose to set. But I think with anything that's good, there's always going to be an equal part of the other side. So I think like focusing on the good that social media does deliver is that it really provides education, inspiration, entertainment. And for me, I remember just when I was in high school and just a little girl, like how inspired I felt by seeing other girls who felt like me on the internet living these lives around the world. And I felt like I could do and be anything I wanted. So I think if we lean on it for the ways that it's good, there's a lot of benefits. And if it can inspire the younger generation to look at life a little differently and have different aspirations and, take their lives into their own hands, I think it's a beautiful thing. Obviously, there's a lot of bad that happens on social media. We experience bullying to a crazy degree. There's a lot of misinformation being spread, political wars being played out. Like, there's a whole other side to social media that shouldn't be ignored. But I think it's really just a balancing act and practicing restriction on your own self. Like, if you're feeling like you're addicted, then you need to self restrict. And I think we're all in this game of trying to figure out the balance for everyone. But I know when I've had enough or when I'm like excited by it. And I think it's just like tuning into yourself.
Mhm. So, just the last question that I have, what are your short-term or long-term goals for Made by All? Where do you see yourself personally in 5 to 10 years? Where do you see your business in 5 to 10 years?
We are developing a lot of things right now that I'm really excited about. We're definitely going to scale tastefully. We want to represent the best creators in the industry. We are also starting a celebrity division because celebrities are needing creators just as much as the other
Mm.
way around. And there's anyone who can capture attention, which is creators, people are drawn to. So we're going to help celebrities get paired up with the best creators. And that's one thing. We're definitely going to build the team tastefully and create opportunities that don't exist yet. And we're going to take them global. I don't want to say too much, but another aspect that I'll just touch on is that how do we take our clients who've been creating for a decade and how do we take their content libraries and syndicate them to other forums and other like places that people consume content, cruise ships, hotels, like we're thinking about this in a much different way. And I think there's endless possibilities here. And I think that's what also makes this part of the job so exciting and interesting. And being in this creator economy, like it's evolving so fast so that we get to do everything as it comes. And I think it's just going to be really awesome to see.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. And I'm excited to see what you do, going forward. I think there's a lot of creators you've helped and a lot more that will be formed that you could probably, help out and build them up into household names. So excited
Thank
for
you.
what's next.
Thank you so much.